I think the final way that I have demonstrated the citizenship ISTE standard is through Artsonia. So I've talked about Artsonia before, but I really just think Artsonia is such a great tool. So here is the web page Artsonia. So it's just online student art portfolios. It's basically, like I said, your own museum, your own uh, spot to showcase all your artwork as a student. And on their webpage here, they have a video you can watch that talks about it. You can create an account. Teachers and parents alike can create accounts. So here again is my Artsonia page. I have a link right here to Artsonia if you want to learn more. That's the page we just saw. And here's a link to my Artsonia Prezi. Again, I think Artsonia is just such a great tool, and I think it really demonstrates the citizenship ISTE standard because it just gives students a way to inspire. It gives teachers and educators a way to inspire, but also it allows them to positively contribute and responsibly participate in the digital world. They're positively putting out their artwork, they're showcasing their abilities. It just really helps them to feel creative, to feel accepted, to feel a sense of pride in the work they complete. I just think it's a really good Web 2.0 tool. It definitely embodies the citizenship ISTE standards. The next standard, Standard 4, is collaborator. Educators dedicate time to collaborate with both colleagues and students to improve practice, discover and share resources and ideas, and solve problems. So at first when I was looking through these standards, I thought, I don't think I've completed the collaborator standard yet in this course. But then I realized that discussion posts are how I've mastered that. So it says, take time to collaborate with both colleagues and students to improve practice, discover and share resources and ideas, and solve problems. And I think that our discussion posts do exactly that because we're able to talk to each other about certain things, about certain topics. We're able to go through and showcase the knowledge of what we've already known, tell others about that, tell our fellow students about that, and work through any issues. For instance, in Unit 1, this individual mentioned that technology integration has emerged in such a way that since I graduated from high school almost 10 years ago, it's simply mind-blowing. And I remember commenting on this individual's post because I agreed that technology now is so much more inclusive in the classrooms than it was 10 years ago. So I think that's just such a great way that I've been able to embody the collaborator, even though I hadn't thought of it before. I think another way is not through this class, but through my student teaching. I actually worked with Overton High School over the last year, student teaching, and I worked in their art room, and the teacher allowed me to present a lesson to the class of freshmen. And it was very interesting because we worked weeks and weeks before designing the lesson, deciding, filling out the lesson plan, figuring out exactly what the steps were going to be, and it was so much fun to complete. I did a seed paper lesson where we pulverized in a blender a cup of water with some cut up construction paper, and then pulsed that and turned it into pulp, and then squeezed the water out, put seeds in, and cookie cuttered it. And they were able to take that home and then plant it in the gardens. And it was such a cool activity. I really enjoyed doing that. I think another way that I've been able to embody the collaborator ISTE standard is through working a summer camp. I am the arts and crafts coordinator at Immaculate Conception Summer Camp, and I've been working there for 3 years as their coordinator. And that's just been such an incredible experience because I've been able to work with different teachers and all the staff members, and we come together and we create a theme, and we planned out the crafts for each day. We planned out field trips. I'm doing it again this summer, and I'm so excited. We are having a cross-country road trip, which is going to be so fun. We're not actually going cross-country, but we are virtually through staying in Memphis, going to a different city a day, or a week, excuse me. So I think that's going to be so much fun. The next standard in our 7 ISTE standards is designer. Educators design authentic learner-driven activities and environments that recognize and accommodate learner variability. So what this basically means is that as educators, we create lesson plans and lessons that are driven to each individual learner and not the class as a whole, because we know that each child learns differently and has a different learning style. So I think some ways that I've been able to encompass the designer ISTE standard through this class is my second lesson plan, for sure. If we can go to that. So in my second lesson plan, I have some modifications. The teacher can work with students in small groups for those who need extra assistance. If students have trouble with the text, the teacher can pair up students so they may read the text together. So I think this really encompasses that designer ISTE standard, because you're focusing your lesson and modifying that lesson to the learning style of each student. A student, for instance, who is struggling with reading chapters can work in a small group or with a partner. And that's a great way for them to still be included, to still be able to learn, but they might get that little extra push of help that they need. And another way using this same lesson is the video that I found. So I found an audiobook of the Out of the Dust book by Karen Hess. And in this lesson, the students can listen to the audiobook while they're looking and reading along in their own. And that's a really great way that they can kind of hear someone else reading to them, but still following along with their eyes on their own paper. And that's a really great way to differentiate learning. I think another really great way I encompass the designer ISTE standard is the Web 2.0 tools. So in the mobile learning tab, I mentioned Arcsonia as a great Web 2.0 tool, but I also have a list here of about 10 Web 2.0 tools that I found that I think are just great ways that, and great resources that teachers can use to differentiate their learning. And some of the examples could be a Prezi, just like I've done with Artsonia, a video, for instance, the video capture that we did, a game. So if we go to this tab, our lesson plan, the one featuring the Out of the Dust book, we actually have a Dust Bowl game that I've included as kind of a resource if everyone gets finished right away. This one is the Ken Burns, the Dust Bowl. We also have this game featuring Mission US, an interactive way to learn history. Another way that I've used the Designer ISTE standard is through my graphic organizer. So for this project, we were asked to create a graphic organizer using the Web 2.0 tools Inspiration for grades 4 through 12 or Kidspiration for grades 6 through 3. So the organizer that I created was this one. And here's the Common Core standard for history. This is the graphic organizer that I created on the first presidents. I have little facts about each one and a picture that kind of adds a little bit of comedy to this tool. I think it really embodies the Designer ISTE standard because it says design authentic learner-driven activities and environments that recognize and accommodate learner variability. So I am definitely the type of learner that really needs to be able to see things. And by using this graphic organizer, the stress of having to look at bullet pointed things and read long paragraphs is alleviated. And I'm really able to look at each one of these little blurbs and not be so, oh my gosh, what's going on, if that makes sense. So I think that's a really great way that I was able to master the Designer ISTE standard. The next standard is Facilitator. Educators facilitate learning with technology to support student achievement of the ISTE standards for students. So basically what this means is that we use technology to support student achievement. We use technology in our lesson plans, in our lessons. And some ways that I've been able to use that is through my graphic organizer, again, because this is a technology. So the graphic organizer that I created was a piece of technology I was able to use and create a lesson for my students based off of this technology. Another way I was able to use and utilize the Facilitator ISTE standard is through lecture capture. So if we go to that tab, with lecture capture, the technology I used was a screencast, an audio capture, and a video capture. And utilizing all these differentiated learning techniques are great ways to encompass each of your students' learning styles. And I think the last way that I was able to use that standard was through my lesson plan. So with this lesson plan, I have many technological tools that I used. For example, the audiobook, going to the black and white photos and the color photographs on the Farm Bureau Association's webpage, the Dust Bowl game, the Prezi, just tons of tools that you can use as differentiated learning.